Today, we are jumping right in and taking a hard look at Italy. A whole bunch of new reports have just come out, and they paint a really concerning picture. We're going to follow the money, look at some major systemic weaknesses, and see how it all connects to things like human rights and even the freedom of the press.
So let's just start with a number, a really, really big number. Between 2022 and 2024, the EU's anti-fraud office said, hey, Italy, you need to recover 615 million euros in misused funds. That is a ton of public money that was supposed to go to, things people actually need.
Okay, but here's where your jaw might hit the floor. Out of that massive 615 million, Italy only got back 23 million. Seriously, that's not a typo. It's a gigantic hole in the country's finances, and it leaves you wondering, where on earth did all that other money go?
And you see, this financial black hole isn't just about the numbers. It's a symptom. It's our way into a much bigger story that everyone from EU agencies to human rights groups are talking about. A story about a pretty dangerous mix of money, power, and the rule of law in Italy today.
So, let's do it. Let's follow the trail of these missing millions. We'll start with just the sheer scale of corruption involving EU funds.
Get a load of this. In 2024, the European Public Prosecutor's Office had 228 active fraud investigations going on in Italy. Now look at the other bar. That's every other participating EU country combined. Italy has nearly 3 times more investigations than all of them put together. It's just in a completely different league.
And listen, these aren't just little accounting mistakes. We're talking about seriously sophisticated criminal operations. Take the good lobby case. Civil servants were rigging contracts for things like making schools earthquake-proof. Then there was a raid that turned up Lamborghinis, Porsches, Rolexes, all paid for with stolen COVID recovery money. They're even using AI now to fake documents. It's next-level stuff.
And this isn't happening in some kind of bubble. Transparency International ranks Italy 46th in the world for corruption perception, and they're basically ringing the alarm bells. Why? Because recent legal changes, like decriminalizing abuse of office, are actually making it harder to go after corrupt officials who have ties to organized crime. The system is being weakened from the inside.
You see, this is about so much more than stolen money. When you have this level of corruption, it creates these cracks in the state itself. And those cracks are exactly what organized crime is so good at exploiting. And the human consequences? Well, they're devastating.
Okay, to get this next part, we need a quick definition. There's something in Italy called the Decreto Flussi, or Flows Decree. It's basically the official system that sets the number of non-EU workers who can come into the country for a job each year. Sounds straightforward, right?
Well, in reality, the system is completely and utterly broken. Check this out. In 2024, a mind-blowing 92% of the available work visa spots never actually turned into a work permit. So what's happening to all those slots? The answer is pretty shocking, and it comes right from the Prime Minister herself. She has publicly admitted that criminal groups, including the Mafia, have gotten inside the visa system. They're basically creating fake job applications and selling them on the black market. And the result is an absolute nightmare for people who are just trying to come to Italy legally to work. It got so bad that an anti-trafficking hotline called 2024 the year of deception. People are tricked into paying for these fake jobs, and they end up in debt with no legal status.
This entire broken system has a direct and often tragic human cost. This is especially true for the migrants and refugees who are just trying to find safety and a better life.
And the numbers here are just stark. In 2024 alone, about 1,700 people died trying to make that dangerous crossing across the central Mediterranean to get to Europe. So to deal with migration, Italy came up with this really controversial plan. They made a deal to process asylum claims in centers built in Albania. But the whole thing hit a legal brick wall almost as soon as it started. Just a few weeks after the first migrants arrived, a court in Rome basically said, hold on, this might not be legal. And human rights groups were not quiet about it. Amnesty International called it a shameful attempt to circumvent international and EU law, and they warned it could have really severe consequences for people trying to seek asylum.
Meanwhile, back on Italian soil, things aren't looking much better. Reports from inside detention centers found things like automatic prolonged detention and violations of basic human dignity, all stuff that is completely against international law.
So with everything we've just talked about, it raises a huge question. What about the people who are supposed to hold power accountable? What about the free press? How healthy is Italy's democratic immune system? Well, the trend here is definitely not good. According to Reporters Without Borders, Italy's ranking for press freedom is falling. They went from 41st in the world in 2023 down to 49th just 2 years later. That is a steep drop. And this is happening for a few big reasons. First, you have about 20 journalists who have to live under permanent police protection because of threats from the Mafia. Then you have legal harassment, like gag laws and these things called slap lawsuits, which are basically designed to bully reporters into silence. And on top of it all, there's political meddling in the state-run broadcaster, RAI. And that political pressure isn't a secret. The CEO of RAI actually resigned over it in 2023. He flat out said there was a political clash and that he couldn't accept programming that he felt wasn't in the public's best interest. And the threats are getting more high-tech. In 2025, it came out that a well-known journalist's phone had been hacked with some seriously advanced spyware. And when the government was asked about it, they just said, state secrecy. Imagine what that does to a journalist's ability to protect their sources. It's chilling. So we kind of end up right back where we started. From hundreds of millions in stolen EU funds, to the Mafia getting its claws into the state, to a broken migration system, to a press that's under siege. These are not separate issues. They're all connected. And it leaves us with this one fundamental question. When money, crime, and politics get this tangled up, how can a democracy even begin to defend itself?